Hello YouTube, it is Monday and that means it's time for another stick trick tutorial video. This week's trick is just going to be really short and easy to understand. If you can execute this trick very well, it can be very good in a performance situation, especially a live performance situation. And the reason I have the camera so high is because we're actually going to be learning this trick right here. It's basically a high juggle that is done above your head, and it can be used in a lot of different applications. So let's go ahead and learn how to do this. It's pretty self-explanatory what exactly you're supposed to do, but I'm going to break down a couple of the details so that it makes it a lot easier if you're having specific problems associated with this kind of trick. So the first thing you're going to want to do is understand how the trick works. So you're going to start out in traditional grip, and basically all you're going to do is take your traditional grip hand and you're going to take the butt and you're going to throw it upwards into the air, and it's going to come down in your match grip hand like this. So the butt circulates almost in a perfect semicircle if you want to think about it, and it comes down into your match grip hand. And of course your match grip hand just passes the stick to the left, and then you flip over and now you're back into traditional grip. So once again, all you have to do for this trick is take the butt end of the traditional grip stick, toss it into the air, have it make a semicircle, and have it come down while passing the match grip hand underneath, and then catching it with the butt facing down. That's the important thing. You want the butt facing down and the tip facing up when you catch it. Okay, so what are some common problems that are associated when trying to perform this trick? Well, one of the problems is spinning the stick too much, like this. You have to be able to control the stick, and not only control the stick in how high and how far it moves, but also control the stick in how much it rotates. So that's the really tricky part. It's not hard to understand the concept of the trick. It's a little bit tricky to master exactly how far to throw it, which means if you toss it here, does it end up halfway across the room, or are you throwing the stick way too high, or is the stick making too many spins and you're catching it in the wrong positioning. So basically here's a little trick that I do to make this spin more accurate. As far as the distance and height thing, that basically comes from the arm motion. So when you're making this motion, try to make it nice and fluid and just make it one continuous arc. So don't go up and over. Try to go up, if anything. If you're having problems getting the perfect arc on it, focus more on getting it high. So if I were to say, if this is 100% up and that's 100% sideways, and that's like in the middle, think of it being up more than sideways. So it's almost like you're lifting the stick into the air, and it just happens to be moving laterally just a little bit. And it's actually okay if you don't throw it too far, because you can always reach your hand across and grab it on the opposite side like this. Doesn't look as flashy, but catching it in the middle or on the left is always preferable rather than having to reach for it all the way over there. I'm standing for this video, so it's easier for me to move and make adjustments, but ideally you'd want to use this in a drum set scenario. Or basically, if you're going to do this on a marching scenario, you're probably standing, so it won't be that difficult. But more than likely, the drum will be on a stand. If it's on a harness, the harness might impede your ability to move your shoulder and perform the toss. So most of the time, the drum is going to be stationary. So whether you're sitting or whether you're standing, the drums tend to be stationary. So you can't just toss the stick. It's not like juggling tennis balls. If you make a mistake, you can always move your body and, forward or backwards and catch the stick at an optimum point. But when you do this with a drumstick in a scenario where the drum is not moving, you have to really be careful to not throw the stick too far or too high or too low. You have to be able to control it. So as far as the arc, we already discussed that, but how do you control how many times it spins? What if you're having this problem? What if you throw it up and it does 4 or 5 spins in the air? Well, here's a little trick I developed. Take your hand and kind of move the stick in between your fingers and thumb, just kind of like that. See, I'm just kind of rolling the stick in my hand, and when that happens, I'm basically letting go as I'm rolling it. Because what essentially is happening is that the momentum that's created from the throw is being put into a spin like that rather than into a spin like that. So basically, if you were to slow this stick down in midair, you would notice it was rotating like that. And I know it's hard to see from all the way back there, but basically, instead of rotating like this, the stick is rotating kind of on, you know, an axis that would be cutting straight through the tip and the butt, rather than cutting through the middle of the stick like that. And basically, rolling your fingers like this is a good way. And of course, it doesn't have to be on the fingertips. You can use your whole hand and just kind of, you know, roll the stick back and forth like that. That's another thing I do. And a little combination of both at a certain point. But basically, you're rolling the stick so that the momentum is not transferred to a spin, but mainly transferred to a rotation of the stick, and therefore the only spin that happens is the spin that is caused by the arc, which is caused by the arm movement and the elbow, like that. And you'll notice, for the most part, I don't overthrow the stick. You know, occasionally it'll pivot a little bit. For the most part, I'm not having, you know, that kind of a problem. Now, what are some applications that you can use this for? Because yes, this is fancy and all, but what can you use that for? Well, probably the best way to use this, in my opinion, is to have a crash cymbal set up somewhere on the left side of the kit, and to take your traditional grip stick, throw it, catch it, and on the way down, smash a crash cymbal. It's really flashy and it looks really good in front of a live audience. Now, of course, you have to practice this first, because again, when the drums don't move or when you don't move, you can't make adjustments. You know, it looks bad from a performance standpoint if you're having to reach over and grab that bad boy. But if you're in control of it, boom, and just crash the cymbal, you know, crash. It looks really flashy. Now, one thing that I like to do is play double bass underneath that. So you'll have something like dick it, and then a crash on the end, and it looks really nice. Now, what else can you use this for? You can bring the height down and just do, you know, little tosses like this, similar to, you know, any other kind of juggle, but you're just bringing the height down. And of course, all you have to do to make it into a cycle is just continuously pass the stick off. There's no, you know, flipping, half flips or anything. There's no switching from match to traditional. You know, everything, you know, you catch and matched, and when you pass the stick underneath, you're pretty much flipping straight to traditional grip. So there's no problems there. So this is a really easy trick to not only be flashy in a performance situation, like when you're on a stage in front of a large audience, maybe not so much when you're in a studio and there's only like one producer, you know, sitting on the other side of the glass. But, you know, it's a really nice trick that is easy to learn and gets a big, you know, applaud from the crowd if you do it not only properly, but if you do it in the right context. So make sure that you are not only confident with this trick, but can perform it consistently, because the more height you put on it and the more distance, you know, your arms are apart from each other, the harder this is going to be to do. Now, of course, I can only throw it so high with this ceiling, but I can actually throw this, you know, 10, 15 feet in the air, and for the most part, catch it without having to move my body that much. And of course, the reason I'm able to do that is because, once again, I'm doing the little roll in the hand. So when you throw the stick at that height, it gets very difficult to catch the stick, not only accurately, but, you know, whether it's facing tip, you know, or butt facing you or facing away from you, just depending on how you depend to look at it. So, you know, it's hard to catch a stick when it's not only falling from such a great distance, but from moving side to side a great distance if, you know, you're deciding to, you know, make a larger arc with it. So doing that little spin of the fingers and the rolling around in the hand as you throw it makes it a lot easier to control and a lot easier to gauge how far and how high you are throwing the stick without having to worry about spinning like this. Because the worst thing you can do in this trick is try to make it look flashy, and you end up spinning the stick way too much, and then you're not able to catch it properly because the stick was out of control. So, you know, that's just a short trick that's really easy to understand, but if you get it down, it's really fun to do, and it's really easy to use. Just be creative with it, and you'll find a context to use it. So that was your trick for this week. I'll be back with another one next week. If you like this video, please subscribe to my page, or at least look at some of my other content. And once again, stick trick videos are posted on Mondays. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.